Welcome to Lead Your Life, the podcast for people who are seeking harmony in business and in life. My name is Debbie Heiser, and I'm an inner mastery and business mindset coach and the chief igniter here at The Lit Up Life. I feel an urgency to help people let go of past messaging so that they can make a lot of money doing what they love without sacrificing what they value most. Welcome. We're glad you're here.
Straight from the corners of my mind is where I find my sanity. It's a place, another.
Hello, and welcome back to Lead Your Life with Debbie Heiser. I'm your host, Debbie Heiser, and I just got back late last night from the Dominican Republic, where the Lit Up Year, a women's mastermind, kicked off at a beautiful resort in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic. And so today I'm a little more casual than I normally would be on my podcast. For those of you watching, I'm in the North Idaho plaid and no makeup. So this is me. Anyway, I'm doing this because it's so important to dive into universal law. And many of you have heard me talk about universal law. And today I'm really diving into one of the most powerful and foundational laws of the universe, the law of divine oneness. And this law really states that everything in the universe is interconnected. It forms an inseparable web of existence. So when you think about that, our thoughts, our actions, our emotions, the energy that we emit into the universe, it creates this tapestry that then affects the whole. So when you think about and take a moment to imagine this vast tapestry where each of those threads is interwoven, and think of us as people, each individual person as the thread interwoven with each other, we really can influence the shape and flow of the entire piece. So, like I mentioned, each of us are kind of like each of those threads, and we're part of the grand design. So we create this ripple effect that affects not only ourselves, but everyone and everything around us. And this is really the core of interconnectedness. I know I've been feeling a lot of chaos energy. There's a lot of fear out in the world right now. And we can impact that. So each person impacts this like divine oneness, right? This interconnection. And my hope is that every person has someone in their life that when you talk to that person, when you're around that person, you leave feeling lighter. Your energy vibration has risen. Now we all potentially have people in our lives too that the opposite happens, and there are people in my life that way too. And and sometimes excuse me, people are going through some really hard stuff and their vibration is lower. And so when that happens, I actually kind of put a little bit of a shield on myself so that I'm giving energy as I need to give energy to them, but I don't feel drained. I don't feel like people are taking energy from me. And so it's really important to have those tools set up as well, because we are all interconnected, which is really powerful, but it's also powerful, and I'll talk about that here in a minute, that we each are a different thread, right? So when you think about the core of this interconnectedness, meaning that we're all vibrating in a certain vibration, and we're connected in thoughts and emotions, and different things impact that energy within us, we can walk through life feeling like we're really separated from people around us, that we're our own person, which we are. You have your own thoughts and your own experiences, which you do. And while that is true, this law of divine oneness really helps us to remember that we're not isolated. We're part of a continuous flow of this energy, and this flow connects us to all living things, all objects, and even experiences, whether or not we recognize it or not. And we're all a part of that universal web. So sometimes when I'm working with people, if I'm feeling or they're feeling a vibration that they're just not it feels like they're just kind of off. We'll go through some meditations, we'll do some grounding exercises. I actually either walk barefoot in the sand like I did this week, or I have a grounding mat as well as a band that I can wear at night. And this just helps to ground me when I'm feeling influenced by other energy that is a part of this tapestry, right? Now, there are some themes within this law that I like to touch on. And one of those is around this interconnection, but then also the law of polarity says there's an opposite of this. You know, there's being independent and interconnected, but there's also interconnectedness and intradependency or codependency. And the codependency is the opposite of that. And we live in an environment where there's a lot of codependency. I'm going to act or be one way because I think it's the way you want me to act. That's unhealthy. And it's around a lot. Or I'm going to say something, I'm not going to say something, or be my authentic true self because I'm worried about how you might react. That's codependency. So sometimes when we are taking an effort to connect, we take on a responsibility that's not really ours to carry. So we take on a responsibility, meaning we shift ourselves, or we take on a weight or try to fix other people in order to feel better about ourselves, right? So we assume the weight of someone else's emotions. That's an example too of where I change myself or I shift myself based on what I think you want me or how you want me to act. Now, sometimes it's blatant. And, you know, when you're in the middle of it, it's very difficult to see it at times, but it's very unhealthy. And when you can step outside of relationship, whether that be a love relationship, a friendship relationship, family relationships, and right now the new book, Let Them, is out. These are things I've been preaching for a long time around this fact that, you know, let someone take what's theirs. You don't need to come in and rescue them. And so really when we think about that, it's very freeing. And once we realize that we are connected, but we're distinct individuals, it really creates a mental release and a release from even some past hidden messages. And, you know, that's a big piece of what I do in neuroscience is help people create new pathways, right? Become aware of the story that's in their head, what's truth, what's a lie, create that awareness, then there's a lot of healing that has to take place before we can change the narrative. So when we think about this, if we're used to acting or reacting a certain way because we're so connected in with the threads or the tapestry, it's not that the tapestry is not still there. It's just, it shows both colors, not just one mixed together. So when we let go of other people's responsibilities that aren't meant for us, then we open ourselves up for relationship, energy, peace, freedom, a more intimate relationship. Because the more intimate we are with ourselves, the more aware we are of ourselves, then the more we can be intimate with other people. And really, it's in that release that we have where we truly experience oneness, right? So we're autonomous, but yet we create this oneness with each other. So with that, we're going to take a quick break and come back and talk about the other two themes. Let's talk about something every entrepreneur faces: selling. It's one of the biggest topics I hear from my community and clients. How can I sell without feeling the ick? I get it. And that's exactly why I created an ebook that guides you through the same script I use to grow my business year after year, by leading sales conversations with heart and soul. If you want a selling approach that feels right, head over to thelituplife.com/ebook and grab your copy today. Now, let's get back to today's episode. Okay, we're back. So we were talking about this interconnectedness and codependency and the difference between the two and what that has to do with this universal law of divine oneness. Now, the other piece of this, and it's very similar, right? In the relationship that we have an absolute and we have relativity. So we are a collective And so in order to understand our own oneness, we experience relative separation. Now, let's put that into a little bit easier way to take this. If you stare at a white wall, there's nothing there, right? It's all together and it's all white. If you add something to it, then there's a relative separation, and you can see that separation between the two things. Now, everything is relative and everything just is. We assign value and meaning through comparison. So when we think about this idea that we're all one and a collective consciousness, one energy, one universe, and divine is involved here, and however you choose to look at that. But in order to understand this, we have to understand that each of us are unique expressions of the same universal energy. And we each experience life through our own individual lenses. And this separation is what gives us contrast, right? So a lot of times painters will paint contrast, or photographers will create contrast, because it allows for that separation to see it differently. And so we need that separation to give us the contrast so that we can learn, grow, and ultimately reconnect with oneness. So it's like this infinity loop, which many of you know, that was a previous, I think I might have the necklace on today. A previous logo of mine is this infinity loop because of the possibilities, but it just loops around. So in the space of relative separation, it is this relativity that everything just is. Like, does there have to be a good or bad? That's judgment, right? And in the collective, there is judgment. And so that's where we have to discern and know who we are, be in connection with the divine. And so when we can apply our own meaning, that's freedom. When we apply meaning to other people, or other people apply meaning or judgment to us, that's them playing the transactional analysis game and being a persecutor, right? Or in that victim game, telling me how I should live, right? So we assign that meaning, and we create the distinctions between good and bad, success and failure, abundance and lack. And when I work with people, it's really important for people to understand that really these labels are human constructs that we've put together. And once we peel back these layers, it's easier to see that everything simply exists as it is, without judgment or without labels. And I would invite you to really take a look at how much you judge during a day, and not in a way that lowers your vibration, but just become aware, right? Awareness, healing, and changing the narrative. So in order to change or transform, we need to go through that. So looking at creating a distinction, it's important to keep the filters in a different way, meaning become really aware of who you are and what works for you. A lot of times I work with clients, and we spend a lot of time defining what success means to them. And whenever I hear, oh, well, I should do this, or I hear a financial number that they just grab from the air, we really dig into that, because is that something that really is juicy to them and means something to them? Or is it something that in the back of their mind, through codependency, they've placed an expectation on themselves, thinking other people are expecting that of them? Or from childhood, growing up, parents, religion, other things that we hear messages from, have they created a limiting belief based on something that is potentially not true, right? So we peel back those layers. Now, the other piece of this is subconscious momentum. So when you think about this law of divine oneness, our beliefs, our self-image, the double binds, meaning, excuse me, meaning we have something that we think we want, but deep down we want something different. And that's usually in our subconscious. And so it pulls us back. We have loyalty pacts with people. It could be spouses, could be parents, could be someone that raised you. And we have this loyalty pact that we're afraid if we say what we want, or we are are this individual as a part of the divine oneness, that we will be breaking some type of loyalty to someone. So our beliefs, our self-images, our double binds, these loyalty pacts, and the perception of our identity are developed through our lifetime through words. And the linguistic environment is so important because these words reside in our subconscious mind. And these programs continue in our mind until they're identified and transformed, until we create new neural pathways and change the narrative. So our subconscious thoughts and programming then set a cause in motion. So then the law of cause and effect becomes apparent, right? So it then drives our actions, it drives our decisions, and then even some relationships, right? Because it creates this subconscious momentum that drives us towards something. And sometimes when I'm working people, they're driving towards something that they don't want. And I've seen this, I keep having this frog in my throat. Have seen this numerous times where people have actually said what they wanted, they got what they want, and then they kind of subconsciously blow up, because they're not used to that. There's other neural pathways, and there are other messages, whether they're worth it, who am I to have all this, whatever those things are. We have to dig to the depth of that too, because then it stops our actions. And so they're just layers. And I think whoever said you're going to get to the heart of the onion, I think they're full of BS, because I think it's just layers. I still have layers show up for me around certain things, right? So the subconscious momentum is really important because it's a cause set in motion, right? And this subconscious programs that we have continue to run on autopilot. And until we do stop them, like I said, the awareness, until we stop them, we identify them and make the conscious choice to transform them. That's the key piece. And people get afraid of that. It's when we bring awareness to these hidden beliefs that we reclaim our power. And we're no longer driven by unseen forces, which is really our subconscious mind and programming. Instead, we then become intentional creators of our lives. You've heard me talk about co-creation. So we become intentional creators of our lives and tap into the flow of the universe with purpose and clarity. So when you move through your day, I would invite you to think about how interconnected we all are. If your thoughts, your energy, your actions, right, they matter, and they are matter. So when you find yourself feeling a little bit down, think about, what are you putting into your head? Who have you been hanging around with? And it's funny because you'll hear some of the same verbiage start to come out of your mouths, whether it's, I'm in a cash flow crunch, whether I'm in negativity and everything's irritating me, whether it be I'm in abundance and I see everything as abundance, not just currency, right? So it's a ripple out into the world, and it affects the collective, and then it affects you because you're attracting what you're putting out, and it creates this tapestry of interconnectedness. So if you want to change your energy, it starts with you. And, you can look externally and look internally, because if we're attracting something that we don't necessarily want to be around, it's okay to then stop being around that for a while, or until you get to this point where you feel better about where you're at and your energy is higher. And so think about what you're putting into your mind, who you're hanging out with. And as you become more aware of these subconscious programs that are driving your life, then you can choose to shift them. Now, a lot of people need help with that. And that's where I come in, and I help people, because I help people become aware of some of those things, look at things through different lenses, so that they can make a choice, because that's the empowerment, is making the choice. And so then you can choose to shift them or not, but you're allowed then to create a new reality that's aligned with your true self. Many times I work with women and men who don't even know who they are. They don't know who their authentic true self is. So already they're in this dichotomy of tension. And so there's a whole lot that goes along with that. So Before I wrap up, I'm excited to share I do have a couple of private client openings that I would love to chat with you about if you want to work one-on-one with me. And I'm also excited to share that in April of 2025, I will be hosting a virtual Live Your Vision retreat. And it's going to be a transformative experience where we're going to deep dive into this idea of energy and oneness and our authentic true selves to set powerful intentions for our lives, to set and not just set these intentions, but really get to the some meat of what's going to help us manifest and what's going to help us with inspired action. Because so many times we do things and we take action, but it's not inspired, which is why we stop, right? So already people have set New Year's resolutions. And by the time this comes out towards the end of February, you've already dropped your New Year's resolutions. Don't beat yourself up about it. It's because the action wasn't inspired. You didn't have something really meaty to hang on to with it. So if you're ready to create a vision that aligns with the flow of the universe and yourself, take a look on our website and you can get all the details there and register. And I'd love to see you there. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And remember, we're all threads in the same beautiful tapestry, and each one of us is contributing to the whole in our own unique way. So keep leading, keep embracing the oneness, and keep shining your light for all that is. And until next time, I'm Debbie Heiser, and this is Lead Your Life with Debbie Heiser. Thanks so much. See you next week. That's a wrap for this conversation. I'm so glad you've joined us. Remember to subscribe to the podcast so you can catch all of our future episodes, and visit us at thelituplife.com for details on how you can become part of the Lit Up Life community. A quick shout out to my friend Jackie Wilson and her friends, the creators of our amazing theme music. Thanks so much for allowing us to share this perfect song with our listeners. Looking forward to having you listen in to our next episode.